Hello everyone, and welcome to my first International Spotlight of the school year. I will be putting a few of these videos together throughout the school year to better help you understand the development of certain key nation states. Now, what is a nation state? Well, it is a more formal term for country. While here in the United States the term state means something different, in most places around the world, the word state is just another word for nation or country. Countries that are officially described as states would be the plurinational state of Bolivia, the state of Eritrea, the state of Israel, the state of Kuwait, the state of Palestine, the independent state of Papua New Guinea, the state of Qatar, the independent state of Samoa, and the Vatican City state. As you can see, in many places around the world, state is simply another word for country or nation. And it is important to remember that, especially when we are talking about different nation states throughout history. The first nation state that we are going to be talking about is Greece. Greece is one of the most historic places on Earth. And it is easy to see how the philosophies of Greece have made a global impact. Greek culture goes back thousands of years, and it is easily one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. As a matter of fact, the capital city of Athens is one of the world's oldest cities at over 3,400 years old, and with people first settling there between 9,000 and 13,000 years ago. What we know of as Greek culture today, however, started to emerge around 3,100 years ago in what is known as the Greek Dark Ages. I would, however, argue that the Greek Dark Ages were not all too dark, being that it was during this time that the Greek alphabet and language started to develop. And there was an abundance of Greek artwork during this time. And of course, Homer's epic poems took place during this period. This period was a great time of achievement and discovery, so I would argue that it was not all too dark. What set this period apart, however, was that there were no major city-states yet. In the 8th century BCE, city-states like Athens and Sparta were established, and the first Olympic Games were even played in the year 776 BCE. It was around this time that Greek culture expanded into modern-day Italy, Spain, Turkey, and the coastline of the Black Sea. 508 BCE, however, was when Greece made its most important discovery: democracy. In 508, the very first democratic system of government was implemented in the city-state of Athens. So the US and every other democratic state on Earth has Greece to thank for democracy. Some say that the reason why democracy was developed in Greece compared to some other places has to do with the fact that the Greek gods actually looked like humans and made mistakes like humans. With the gods being flawed, just like us, then we as individuals are able to run our own lives. In Egypt, on the other hand, the gods were monstrous beings that needed to be feared, and the people needed a pharaoh to interpret the will of the gods. This was not the case in Greece. During ancient times, the Greek city-states were often at war with the great Persian Empire, and in the year 490 BCE, the bands of Greeks were able to defeat the Persians at the Battle of Marathon. It was after this that the Hellenic League was created, and this united most of the Greek people for the very first time. There were, however, often many conflicts between neighboring city-states, including the two most powerful, Athens and Sparta, fighting for supremacy. In the 4th century BCE, the northern region of Macedonia started to gain power at the expense of the other Greek regions. It was under the leadership of Macedonian king Alexander the Great that the Greeks were able to completely conquer their longtime nemesis, the Persian Empire, and spread Greek culture really around the world. During the reign of Alexander, Greek culture was at its height. And after his death, Greece started to lose much of the power that it had built up, and there was a new power in Europe that would soon supplant Greece: the Roman Republic. By the year 146 BCE, the once mighty Kingdom of Macedonia was incorporated into the expanding Roman Republic, and the rest of Greece, well, technically not part of the Republic, had to do what Rome said. Under the reign of the first Roman Emperor Augustus, Greece was fully absorbed into Rome. While the new power in Europe was indeed Rome, the Greeks greatly influenced the Romans, including, but not limited to, their pagan gods, the Greek alphabet, the idea of democracy, and, of course, in the realm of architecture. After the Pax Romana ended, power in the Roman Empire shifted to the east, to the Greek city of Byzantium. When the Western Roman Empire fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, centered in Byzantium, at this point known as Constantinople, would endure for another 1,000 years. While the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire was officially Roman and Latin was the official language, a majority of the people were Greek, and the Eastern Empire was essentially a Greek empire. With the rise of Islam starting in the 7th century, many places that were once under Byzantine rule fell to the conquering Muslims. Even though the Byzantines, and thus the Greeks, lost places like Judea, Egypt, and Syria, the core of the empire in modern-day Greece and Turkey would endure. It was not until the Fourth Crusade between 1202 and 1204 that it became clear that the Byzantine Empire would not last forever. The Crusades were a series of conflicts between European Christians and Muslims from the Middle East. Generally speaking, the goal of the Crusaders was to bring Jerusalem and the surrounding lands under Christian control. In the Fourth Crusade, however, it ended up being a conflict between Western Europeans and Eastern Europeans. And that crusade ended with the destruction of Constantinople by those from the West. Even though the Byzantines would re-establish control over the city, the empire was permanently weakened, and in 1453, Constantinople fell to the invading Ottoman Empire, a Muslim empire that had been expanding for many, many years. After this, the Greeks came under the control of the Ottoman Empire and would remain under Ottoman control for around 400 years. In 1821, however, the Greek War for Independence broke out, and with the support of European allies, Greece was able to regain its independence by the year 1832. For the next 100 years or so, there continued to be conflict between Greece and the weakening Ottoman Empire. And by the First World War, Greece had gained much of its current territory from the Ottoman Turks. It was also at this time that many Greeks started to believe in the Megali idea, or in English, Great Idea. That Greece should expand to the point that it will take back Constantinople and parts of what is now the western coast of Turkey. After World War I, it seemed as if the Greeks might actually accomplish this and take Constantinople back. The Ottoman Empire was on the losing side of that war and lost much of its old territory. After the First World War, another war broke out between Greece and the Allies during World War I and the newly proclaimed Republic of Turkey. It seemed as if Greece and her allies might win. But when King Alexander, and yes, there was another Alexander in Greece, died because of a monkey bite, the war turned in favor of the Turks. With Greece now on the losing side of the war, its territorial ambitions came to an end, and all Turks within Greece were deported and sent to Turkey, and all Greeks in Turkey were deported as well. It was also around this time that the name Constantinople was officially changed to Istanbul. Great British Prime Minister Winston Churchill once commented that it is perhaps no exaggeration to remark that 250,000 persons died of this monkey's bite. After the World Wars, Greece allied itself with the United States and went on to join the NATO military alliance with both the US and, interestingly enough, Turkey. In 1981, Greece joined the European Union, an organization that seeks to unify the entire European continent. Today, Greece has a republican form of government with both a president and a prime minister. In recent years, the country has had some major economic issues related to the country's national debt, but things seem to be getting better now. Well, that's all I have for you today. I will leave you with this: Eleftheria ή Thanatos, freedom or death, the national motto of Greece.